Good evening and welcome to... Oops, oh my goodness, I can't believe I've just screwed up that badly. Welcome to a live stream with untitled live stream about Frozen with my friend Ferro. Thank you for joining us on this channel, I think for the first time.
Yes, thank you very much. Obviously, long-time fan, long-time watcher of Woman's Hour and, the event talk as well. Excellent, all excellent.
Oh,
so
yes.
Thank you.
Well, I brought you on tonight because you were you were talking about Christmas adverts with the Academic Agent on your yearly live stream on the subject of Christmas adverts. Do go and watch that, everyone watching, on the Academic Agent's channel. Deepest Laws episodes 103 and 104 about all of the new Christmas ads this year. And as part of that stream, you mentioned Frozen. Saying that you wanted to do a live stream on the subject, and I instantly leapt on the opportunity because I love talking about movies. I love talking about particularly children's media, the elements of what are the stories that we're teaching our next generation. How do we pass on good morals, good stories, the archetypes, the important lessons in life to our next generation in a way that is entertaining and we'd hope enriching, and Frozen is such a huge sensation, and actually it's a film that I really do quite enjoy. So I often come to the defense of it when people talk about it, but I do at the same time recognize that there are elements of it that are rather
and that is deeply subversive.
Yeah, that's the watchword of today. I mean, just going back to your point around the importance of children's entertainment, I am very much of the opinion that what a child reads and what they see has a fundamental impact on their world beliefs. And I think the influence of things like Netflix and basically TV on demand via devices has massively negatively affected children's mental well-being, but also their first principles about society itself. And there's another interesting companion stream that you may want to watch, which kind of outlines the kind of more philosophical side of this from my view, which was the Power of Words stream, the kind of propaganda words stream that we did, talking about how literature is very powerful. For example, the example I use is Plato when he bans the poets from his Republic, basically saying that these guys have the power to influence and to move people to nefarious purposes. So in the same way we can use words and media to negatively affect people's actions, I think we can like you said, you can positively do it, both in terms of explaining universal truths, explaining situational truths. I think the importance of the archetype is also, like as you mentioned, very important, because it kind of outlines potential roles for us that have been successful in the past. And is it because, again, I think today children are kind of pushed into kind of careers as identity, as opposed to archetypical characters, if that makes sense. Like you're going to be a banker or you're going to be a doctor, as opposed to you're going to be a romantic, or you're going to, as in a romantic poet. That is, I mean, or
you're going to be a hero. You're going to be a helpful person.
Exactly, and it's interesting because, again, some of those characteristics cross, like it's related to your job sometimes, but often not really. And so, yeah, it's something that we don't really think about because it's also it's really difficult to raise a child. I've got two. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Older girl, younger boy, and obviously the boy's excellent. Actually, I'm very pleased. He is a very quiet and attentive child. My daughter is full of energy. She is just certainly a handful to control and to look after, and so I think for many parents that they find it just simpler to stick the kids in front of the TV and let the TV do the job of the parents.
Well, these days the tablet has become the preferred entertainment for parents, I think, because the child can sort of steer it on their own, and the volume of it on a handheld device is not intrusive on the household. So you can have something on the TV while the child is watching. Who even cares what they're watching because they're being quiet and they're in the corner, or you can even take them to the supermarket or on a road trip or whatever. They're just sort of engrossed in the screen, and they love it, and it's sort of just like a little pause button on parenting where you can go and be like a normal person for a few minutes.
Yeah, it's really tough because I think you need those moments, especially once you've got two. Like there's a moment where you need to change the nappy of the other one and you need to entertain the other child. But I see it as a dark temptation, and I'm very against tablets. We have a rule where it's for sick days only. So if she's sick in bed, that's the only time she's allowed to use it. Because again, it's kind of like I basically want to dehabilitate her ability to navigate the internet and to navigate on a computer. I want to sort of make her computer literate. Everyone's keen to teach your child how to code and stuff. I want it to be the opposite. I want her to I'm giving
baffled
her
by it.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to give her a wax tablet and a stylus and say, look, you can start there, and when you're older, you can get up to that. But
well, that parenting perspective is also why I really wanted to talk to you about this, because it is such a sort of a unique place to be where when you're the parent of a small child, it really feels like you're like a soldier in the trenches, and you have this sort of understanding between other parents who are going through the same thing. So there really is I don't know. I feel like you and I have experienced the same thing with having daughters who are 3 years old, and with Frozen in particular, and cartoons in general. That's something that's the context for the show tonight. But I guess we should really jump into talking about Frozen in particular. If you want to, you prepared wonderfully. You're the most prepared person I've ever had on a live stream, and it's wonderful. You came with your own slide pack. Actually, some people have. That's rather harsh on my other guests. But
it's a blessing and a curse, because maybe I organise too much and overthink it. As Dee likes to point out, I'm too much of the managerial type. I have a strong managerial vein inside me that likes to be organised, and but yeah. But glad to go straight into it for the sake of time. The way that I've structured this is to look at a bit of the background of the film, how it was made, some of the influences for it, then to look through a plot synopsis, and then some of the issues that I have with it. And I'd be interested to see anyone in chat what your thoughts are. Maybe if we've got time, we can hear from some people. Please send in the super chat, support the channel, and we'll get your question asked as well. So,
great.
Okay. So
go ahead.
Onto the background. So, I mean, I was looking at this the date, Poe, and I already just felt like unbelievably old. 2013, almost a decade ago. Can you believe it?
Yeah. No, I remember. I watched this as a university student. I remember it well. It's one of the few films I've seen in the cinema twice.
Yes. You're probably quite a lot younger than me, though, Poe, as well. So it's particularly galling.
I was not a child when it came out. I wasn't like a Frozen kid who loved Frozen or anything. I wasn't dressed up as Elsa or going to the screenings, but I quite enjoyed it, and I had another friend who wanted to see it, so I ended up seeing it twice, and I enjoyed it both times.
Yeah. Interestingly, I guess it is like a Zoomer film, isn't it? Because if it's 2013, kids after 2000 are Zoomers, aren't they? So this is going to affect the Zoomer generation lots. Written by two people, Chris Buck, Jennifer Lee. I've just put in like their backgrounds. Obviously important when talking about films here. Interestingly, Jennifer Lee done some work previously with Wreck-It Ralph, which I quite enjoy. I quite like Wreck-It Ralph as for a kind of computer game thing. That's quite fun. Now, interestingly, this whole thing is explicitly based on the Snow Queen, and I think when thinking about Frozen, we have to talk about Hans Christian Andersen's epic, long fairy story about the Snow Queen as well, because they're sort of linked together. But this, I would say that Frozen is the twisted and dark version of the original.
I'd specifically say that Frozen is to the Snow Queen as Wicked is to the Wizard of Oz. Like, they were trying to do a villain origin story almost, and then kind of went off the rails.
Can I just say that I think the Wicked analogy is really important, because I think Wicked came out at a similar time. They use the singer from Wicked as well, from the stage show. As
Idina Menzel. Yeah, she's very talented.
Yes, but the score as well is all of the music is very Wickedy. If that makes, have you ever seen that musical?
Yeah, I haven't just seen it. I've also my concert band from school used to play the score from Wicked, so I'm actually very well acquainted with the soundtrack.
There we go. Do you think it sounds similar at all, or is it just me? What instrument do you play? Sorry,
I play the flute. So the arrangement we were playing, I guess that's very much biased by mine, but I can see what you mean. Like, musicals have a very like bombastic ballad kind of sound in general, so I don't know if I'd say that in particular that I choose these two to compare. But you have female singers, you have this sort of female, it's a rivalry in Wicked, sort of a friendship, but just having two female leads does sort of lend itself to that kind of Wicked comparison, I think. Both being musicals.
I mean, I'm a bit of a musical nerd as well. This is a dark fairy secret. So I would say that they are like, Wicked started like a new generation of musicals on the West End as well. So I think Disney was always trying to find out what's happening on the mainstream, and you see that later with obviously like Hamilton and Lin-Manuel Miranda, who gets involved in things like Enchanto and Moana as well later on.
Can you tell me if I remembered this wrong? I love the Book of Mormon, the musical. I've listened to the soundtrack, sort of hundreds of times, and I've been to see the stage show. Brilliant show. I'd love to go see it again someday. And I either remembered or misremembered that one of the songwriters on the Book of Mormon was a songwriter on Frozen, and of course Josh Gad is the snowman in Frozen, and he was the dorky Cunningham character in the Book of Mormon. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think it's a chap called Lopez and his wife, basically, and he did Avenue Q as well. So it's again interesting to see these kind of West End stars transferring across to Disney. Again, both of those plays deeply subversive.
That is deeply subversive.
Sorry. Interesting fact that I kind of found kind of reading through various articles. Apparently, Walt himself tried to create an adaptation in the 1940s. He was looking to do a series of Christian Andersen stories, like short stories, but the war got in the way, and apparently these are some sketches from it. I cannot vouch for the authenticity of this, because I've seen discussions around it, and these look way later than I thought. But anyway, interesting that it was on the cards. Now, one thing that you'll find from again, just kind of reading around. I read a few kind of like there's a big Telegraph article about it, but also Wikipedia has this kind of interesting section on it, and it seems that the plot changed quite dramatically. And I wanted to bring this up before we actually go to the plots. Now, anyone listening, I'm assuming, must have a rough idea of what happened, but I'll just read out these two little excerpts before we go into the synopsis. So the story basically revolves around two sisters, Elsa and Anna. And in the original, Elsa had been evil from the start, kidnapping Anna from her own wedding to intentionally freeze her heart and later descend upon the town with an army of snowmen. The whole second act was about Anna trying to get Hans and to kiss him, and then Elsa trying to stop her. And basically through the process of doing the kind of songwriting, the entire focus of the song flipped. And interestingly, it's all to do with this very famous "Let It Go" song. So again, here's a little quote The songwriters saw Elsa not as a villain, but a scared girl trying to control and come to terms with her gift. They started to talk about what it would be like to feel like Elsa, and this concept of letting out who she is, that she kept to herself for so long, that she's alone and free, but then the sadness of the fact the last moment she's alone. And so what basically happens is the storyline changes very dramatically, and at the very start, during the Disney version, it was going to be an exact retelling of the Hans Christian Andersen story. Then it changes. I mean, it's already changed quite a bit from that to this kind of Elsa being the villain. And what we end up with really
but the Snow... sorry, do remind me, the original Hans Christian Andersen, the Snow Queen is an evil kind of witch character, right? She's kind of like the witch from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. She's all wrapped up in this sort of fur and riding on this sleigh, and she tempts this poor boy. She makes this poor boy evil by putting it's like a shard of mirror in it, gets in his eye.
It's even weirder than that. Okay, so I'll quickly tell you the story of that, just super quickly as well, because it's worth just for context. The devil disguises himself as king of the trolls, which again is a great start. That's such a Scandi start. The troll king, and he decides to create a mirror which shows like the worst in things. Then he basically tries to take the mirror to heaven to kind of show it to angels and God and to like make them feel upset, but he drops it on the way, and it shatters, and the pieces of the mirror fly across the world and they end up in the eyes of men and women, and so it's kind of like an analogy of kind of like where we get kind of our disgust and sadness from. And then the story changes to a boy and a girl, not brother and sister, but kind of friends. It's kind of like a childhood friendship thing. I think it's like Kai and Gerda or Gerber or something like that. And basically, the boy, gets sort of taken. He basically falls out with his lady friend, and then ends up being captured by the Snow Queen. So she is an evil figure, and the whole plot of the story is the girl going through a number of trials to try and free her friend. Basically, that's the story. Interesting, like I said, that in this early version they have the Snow Queen as being explicitly evil. They've done a gender bend on the boyfriend, on the child who's a boy, to make it a sibling and a girl. So there's already a substantial change there. But still, the Snow Queen is evil. But what we end up with, the kind of final version, as we'll go into in a second, is that it is exactly like a Wicked situation, like you said, where the explicitly evil character, we're sort of seeing the whole thing through her lens instead, and it's about her story, and it's about actually my childhood, my difficulties. Again, if you've seen the plot of Wicked, it's all about how like she was like the rape baby of Oz or something like that. I can't quite remember. It's very much like my psychology, and it's a similar thing. So should we talk through the plot quickly? I don't know if you want to. I've given these kind of little pointers here to kind of roughly go through it, but I don't know if Po, you want to talk through it.
Before you say that, I've been listening, but I've also been managing the chat, because we are getting the bots turning up. So if you'd like to be a moderator and you've been a long-time viewer of my live streams, then do pipe up now, and I'll make you a moderator while we're chatting. Anyone listening live. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So, Elsa's not evil, but I just wanted to say that when I first watched Frozen, I heard that it was good, but not really knowing anything about it, Let It Go is written almost like a villain song, and the way that it's like the whole sequence of it is like, it almost feels like this character's taken a turn and she's about to go evil. She's frozen this entire kingdom. I guess we're going to get into it as we go through the plot, but obviously spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it. The stream doesn't really have much value if you haven't seen the film, so come back to it once you've seen Frozen. But yeah, let's get straight into the plot, how it was released.
Yeah, I've tried to distill it down to 7 points. We start off with a happy royal family, a king and a queen, and 2 daughters, and we find pretty quickly that one of the girl has magical powers, or as I would like to describe her, she's a witch. Now, the culmination of their childhood is that the witch zaps her sister inadvertently while playing, and it basically makes her very ill. They take her to some trolls to get healed, and they remove the memory of that moment. Time goes on. Oh yeah, and as part of that removal of the memory, I guess. So there's two sisters, that Elsa and Anna. Elsa is the blonde witch, and Anna is the brown-haired.
I think she's ginger, but yeah.
Okay, ginger normie, we'll say.
And she forgets the existence of magic completely when the trolls take out the glass, the ice from her head and take out the memory. She loses all memory of her sister having magic powers, but Elsa still has ice powers.
Exactly, and they basically create like a separation between the two, don't they? So the first song is all about Anna wanting to play with Elsa, and Elsa not wanting to anymore, and the kind of childhood confusion. Time goes on, and then the parents go off on a voyage, and they die. Open brackets, big sad. Everyone's upset, but there's a consequence to that, and that is Elsa, being the eldest daughter, will have to be. They'll have to have a coronation to make her queen of. They also live in like a small, I would say, Nordic kingdom in an archipelago, like a port city.
Arendelle, yeah. I was planning an intro for this show where I was going to say that Arendelle was flung into perpetual winter, just as England has been recently with with sub-zero temperatures.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been quite an ordeal we've been going through this week.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Definitely. Lots of. There've been lots of Frozen references in our household because of the weather, but.
And it was very fitting watching it again this week. And I was going to say that a lot of films you kind of, it sounds so pretentious, but they feel different. There's certain moments that hit different, as the kids say, as a parent. And I think watching Frozen, that the moment for me was when the parents die. And it's like they never planned for Elsa and Anna to be isolated from each other in this way, or isolated from the world. It was a complete accident. They set up these rules that like isolate Elsa to protect her and to protect Anna, and then when they die, there's no one really to take care of them, to make sure that they're like emotionally fulfilled. So you get these two very isolated girls who are just very sort of unhappy, and they don't even have each other to comfort each other. So it is really sad, like, to watch it. They make it sad, but the more you think about it, the sorrier I feel for Elsa and Anna. And it's really sad, that moment with Elsa. Anna's knocking on the door, asking her to play with her after their parents' funeral, and Elsa doesn't even respond. But inside, she's completely frozen her entire bedroom because she can't control the sadness that she's feeling.
Yeah, I mean, on that point, in my mind, this is already where alarm bells are ringing, because no court would be operated like that. Every court has got its counsellors, everyone's got its advisors, its trusted people. A kingdom is not just a king and a queen. But this screenplay, it's efficient. They want to get right to it. We don't care like who was taking care of the kingdom when these kids were. It's just not realistic though. It's kind of like, again, you'd have courtiers, you'd have people around. So it feels like they wanted to create that feeling of aloneness and isolation. But I think it's either unrealistic or a total failure in their parents to plan stuff. Like, come on, they should have had some kind of a proposal or something like that, some suitors by now as well. And I think that's also interesting. So many of Disney's other plays. So if you think about Sleeping Beauty, that entire plotline is based around a proposal, isn't it? Relatively early on, two households joining together when they're quite young. So the fact that she's already old and not even looked at it, I think again is a little bit interesting. But anyway, let's keep on going. She the whole of Arendelle has been closed down as part of Elsa's evil witch magic, and so they're having to open up the place for the coronation for the first time. So the kind of next big song is like, the whole of Arendelle opening up, and Anna finally getting excited that she gets to see other people, see places. And as part of the coronation, they had other kind of trading people other kingdoms come by to say hello, trading partners, etc. And Anna sees this as a moment for love and opportunity in her songs. The coronation initially goes well, so she manages to get through it, and Anna finds a potential love match in the form of Hans, this kind of dashing prince from a nearby location, and they fall instantly in love and have a kind of a romantic evening together, which culminates in him proposing to her. When his sister finds out the news, when her sister finds out the news about the proposal, she not only denies it, she tells him to go away, and the resulting argument creates Elsa to lose control of her powers and to freeze over the entire kingdom, at which moment she runs away and retreats to the North Mountain, where she builds a gigantic ice palace for herself to reside in, away from the rest of her subjects, while singing the Let It Go song, the famous Let It Go song. So she's sort of...
number one that year. That song went to number one on the charts.
There you go. We should maybe bring up the lyrics for it, because it's so bad, basically.
I know you. I love that song, but I know what you mean.
Basically, so she's residing in this palace of isolation by herself now, the Snow Queen. Her sister's obviously kind of confused with what's going on, chases after her, as does a number of kind of guards who are very confused about what's going on. This is seeing kind of witchcraft and magic, and send across some soldiers to try and take back and capture the queen and find out what's going on. And that kind of little faction is run by a guy called the Duke of Wesselton, or it's spelt Weaseltown. So again, it's is there like a phrenology for name? I don't know, like
I don't know. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's the what's called the Mr. Red Herring. If you ever watch Red Letter Media, this character archetype is called Mr. Red Herring.
Okay.
It's like the guy that you think is the bad guy, in absence of all other bad characters. There has to be some kind of conflict. So you're looking out for the villain, and there's this guy conveniently there who's called from a place called Weaseltown, and he is kind of he's very greedy. Like, he's openly looking to exploit the riches of Arendelle.
Exactly. So basically, Anna ends up making her way to the North Mountain, encounters an ice cutter. What do you call them? Ice miner?
Yeah, he said an ice deliverer. I don't know.
Yeah. He cuts out ice for a living, and his reindeer. So it's Sven and Kristoff.
Kristoff's the name of the Iceman.
Yes, exactly. So she recruits him on the way, and ends up at the Ice Palace. Tries to have like a kind of has a confrontation with her sister, but eventually is kind of sent away. Doesn't convince her to come back. They make their way back to the town, and at the same time, the party, the kind of party
you missed the important part where during the confrontation, Elsa pierces Anna's heart with ice by accident. Right. Again, it's a repeat of the same accident they had last time, where Elsa gets out of control and she ends up throwing ice magic at her sister in an aggressive gesticulation.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's kind of important.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Very good. They go off to consult the trolls again, who tell them that she has to get. Is it a true love's kiss or an act of true love?
An act of true love will freeze a frozen heart.
Yes, exactly. And then they go back to the city, while at the same time, Elsa is confronted by the Wesselton guys and Hans, and is captured, basically. Is that right?
Yeah.
So she gets thrown in prison, and Anna makes her way back, and the big reveal is that Hans, her lover, is actually the bad guy, and he doesn't help her. He doesn't have any love for her, and he wants to let her die
so
he can take over the throne of Arendelle. Basically.
She's already kind of put him in charge while she's gone because she loves him. She's so in love with him, and they're engaged. She kind of thinks of him already as her husband. So Anna puts Hans in charge while she's gone, so that when she dies, he always takes over by default. So he just it's very convenient for him to her suddenly be very sick, and he sort of tries to help her along with the sort of hypothermia process.
Exactly. And then basically there's a final confrontation where Anna and Elsa sort of reconcile. Anna freezes because of the frost magic, but then Elsa sort of hugs her and cries on her. And then the magic saves her life, basically. And
Anna she's about to die. She's rescued by this obnoxious snowman who you've completely glossed over, and a good thing for it.
Intentionally so, Bo.
So she's so Anna manages to avoid dying from ice magic, and she's very concerned. At first, she's just trying not to die, but then when she sees that her sister Elsa is about to be murdered by Hans, the evil prince. She rushes to save. Instead of saving herself, she rushes to her sister's aid to stop her getting murdered. And that's at the point at which she turns into this sort of ice statue, completely freezes, and she manages to shatter the sword of the attacker because she's so such a hard block of ice that his sword shatters, and it's like the ultimate sacrifice. She's sacrificed herself for her sister. And that is the act of true love that melts her, and it also teaches Elsa that the opposite of fear, this fear and this sadness that's making her ice go out of control and freezing the entire kingdom, that it's actually love is the solution, and that's how she learns how to thaw all of the kingdom and to bring back summer. She learns from Anna what it is to love again and to accept someone. So it is kind of hard to explain all the things that happen, but in that scene, but
because it's nonsense. That last scene is very stupid. She discovers love again. It doesn't make any sense because she was having a good time with her sister before and still control her powers. It just doesn't make sense in my opinion. But anyway, that's a minor point.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the synopsis. So what I've got here is just a couple of different. My list of subversions. Okay.
I'm thinking that sort of text font that you've used just puts me in the mind of like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like this is the title screen of the. I don't know if you've watched that show.
Yes, it does look a bit like that actually. Yeah, that's not intentional. I mean, first thing I would say, it's a total retcon of the original Hans Christian Andersen plot. Now, this idea of like the Troll King, and again the kind of Snow Queen. There is literally, I was trying to think, is there anything that matches up between the two? And apart from this idea of a woman with ice, that's literally.
And she's a queen.
And she's a queen. Yeah, you're right. And they're in there roughly in the Nordic area. Although the Snow Queen resides in like Finland or in like near the North Pole. They're much further north. But so I think. Anyone who's because I've actually got the Snow Queen as well as a story that I read to my daughter. She really loves it. That's one of her favourites. So I know it relatively well. But
so she doesn't freeze the kingdom. She doesn't set off an eternal winter. It's just this little boy that she's terrorizing.
Exactly. It's really about the kind of the I don't know kind of like innocent friendship between a boy and a girl. But also, it's kind of like a hero's quest in some way that the girl goes on.
So that's kind of like Frozen in the sense that there is this innocent girl going on a journey to save her friend/sister.
Yeah, apart from not saving the Snow Queen, the Snow Queen is like the figure of capture. Most egregious, I find, is again just the total rank dechristianization of the original. So I've got 3 little excerpts here. So, Gerda and Kai are the 2 kids' names in it. So yeah, when Gerda reaches the Snow Queen's palace, she is halted by the snowflakes guarding it. I gotta say, some of it is just absolutely wacky and wild. I mean, Hans Christian Andersen, very strange man. I mean, I write it off because he's Danish. She prays the Lord's Prayer, which causes her breath to take the shape of angels. Who resist the snowflakes and allows Gerda to enter the palace. I mean, it's a very beautiful, beautiful moment. And there's other things like references to Jesus Christ as well. And then at the end, the grandmother reads a passage from the Bible there as well. You know, assuredly I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you'll by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. So there's this kind of like Christian subtext to the original story about. Well, I mean, it's quite explicit because the Troll King is literally the devil, and he's kind of created this. So there's kind of like going back to the original point about morals and understanding. You know, it's a way of teaching a child about actually there is this great evil in the land. There is there's also a darkness in the place we live in. You know, where we don't see the best in things. And you know, this is sometimes why that people aren't nice to us all the time, etc. So I think it's chock full of interesting morals and things we can take away, but all of that has been totally stripped away. Interestingly, there is a vicar. I think there's like a bishop during the coronation. He says one line of Latin in Frozen, which is not translated, but that's as close as you're going to get to any kind of Christianization. So.
Well, it's the same with all Disney films that take. A lot of them are using this sort of fairy tale as a basis, as a kind of framework, but then making it completely secular and making it sort of more, I guess, more romantic, more appealing to young minds, I suppose. So the Snow White is based on a very old fairy tale, and Cinderella. All of it. They take out many elements. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's something that Disney has been doing for almost 100 years now.
Yeah, I think that's true. I just think it's just more explicitly done. It's like a total reworking. It's kind of like Frozen wears the skin suit of the Snow Queen. It's kind of scooped it out.
Well, I think I heard that in the original Cinderella, the evil stepsisters cut off their own toes to try and force their feet into the glass slipper. Like these and then they end up getting killed at the end by the prince. These stories were quite gruesome. The Little Mermaid, I think she ended up turning the real original Little Mermaid ended up turning into sea foam at the end because the prince wouldn't return her love.
Yeah, get wrecked.
Yeah, I mean, all of these stories are vastly changed to make them into a 90-minute feel good family romp.
Hold on a second. A lot of those changes get adapted beforehand, though. So again, it's kind of like with the Little Mermaid. You have kind of like a sanitized version in England way before that, in like the Victorian period, because again, a lot of these they kind of get like made polite for society-ized, if that makes sense.
Sort of Victorianized, I guess, because they go back so the Victorians were kind of squeamish about. Well, I don't know how they felt about it. They were quite gruesome at times, weren't they? The public hangings and.
But they're very sentimental about their children, though. You need to understand that they're very protective about them. So, I think you need to understand. Like, obviously, all of these stories change over time, but it's how much do they change and the purpose behind it. And again, I always think that a lot of these original fairy stories, they're seen through like a pure German mind, which is disgusting to us, but probably normal to a normal German. You know, like the cutting toes off may make sense to a German child. I don't know, but I think in the English mind, it's a little bit too much. So I think it has to almost be seen. It's reevaluated through our lens while keeping the core principles. But like I said, this is like a total annihilation and remolding. It's like a Frankenstein's beast. Most egregious is in my opinion is the whole concept of the rehabilitation of the Snow Queen. Now, Christian Andersen created the entire story from an interaction with an opera singer that he fell desperately in love with, who didn't respond to his advances. But I think all the men in chat can appreciate the and maybe some of the women too, can appreciate the idea of the Snow Queen as an archetypical woman. This kind of aloof, cold-hearted, calculating, woman. I'm sure we've all encountered one. Do you see yourself as a Snow Queen at all, Poe?
I guess I've I've been a little harsh with. There was a certain phase in my life where I was trying to be very cool. And I don't mean literally cool. I'm not trying to make a pun there. I just mean I think when you're like a teenager and you think it's cooler to be mean to people than it is to be nice to them, and it often takes a while before adults sort of realize that especially for women, I think it's better just to be kind to people and say nice things about them than try to be like edgy and trying to make a lame joke at someone's expense. So I definitely have. I think I've had my moments of being overly cruel, especially to men who really didn't deserve it.
Oh, there we go. See, the original Snow Queen there, Poe. But so there's that kind of level where it's kind of like, again, it's telling you about a type of woman that exists. But I think the symbology of the Snow Queen as well is significant as this mythical witch that lives beyond civilization and society. So again, the Snow Queen has a number of palaces all in the north. She resides over a kingdom of ice. She has no subjects. She uses these demonic powers. She's aligned with evil. She captures young boys. And that's the kind of the feel that Anderson gives it. That's obviously kind of taken even further by C.S. Lewis with his interpretation of the White Witch, who is literally like a personification of the devil. So it's interesting. Obviously, like in Anderson, the Troll King is the devil quite explicitly. So, but still, I see that as like a variation and a deviation. This is a demonic, evil figure that should not be held up as a role model of any sort. And again, we with Frozen, we have this total inversion of reality and tradition.
Then that is deeply subversive.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Sorry, I'll let you talk.
No, that was I was just trying to let you know that I was on board. But no, I think like I said, I don't know. Like if you really wanted to set about making a sort of a true to life, faithful adaptation of these stories, I don't know if they would. I've seen sort of more quirky, weird, grotesque animations of sort of children's stories, and they're usually not for children. They're kind of an art piece that they appreciated by adults, and that's obviously has artistic merit as well. But I don't know if we want to sort of launch into the debate, but I think calling it an adaptation of a fairy tale is really stretching the stretching that as a category, when really it's just an original story. It's not anything to do with the Snow Queen, and it was never sort of marketed at that either. It was
but they have it on the title screen though.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they have to for copyright reasons, or if that. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But
Skin
also,
suit.
Yeah, it's really weird where they try, again. I don't know how intentionally, and again they started off with this more faithful adaptation to it, with the Snow Queen being explicitly evil, as we saw. But then this idea of actually, she's not so bad. Just think about what she's been through. That's.
Well, I am a big believer in having like a good villain, and I don't just mean like a villain who has like a sad past, which is that's really the worst way of doing a villain, is just to say like, oh, they're bad, but it's because they were abused as a child in some way. They've had a sad past. That's one way to do it, but it's really the easiest thing you can do, when really I think what a really good villain is someone who has like a clear motivation. You understand why they want the things that they want. In quite a human way, like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. It's not that he's really just like pure evil in a kind of devil way, like he's just trying to unleash evil on the world. It's he wants he wants to marry Belle, and he'll just do anything to get it, and he'll rile up the villagers to into a murderous rage. Out of sort of maybe some genuine fear for the Beast. But I think Disney does this thing with all of their villains where they really sit down and have like, I don't know if they have a meeting with a whiteboard, and they go like, what does this villain want? And they give them like these brilliant villain songs, and they come up with I just think brilliantly drawn bad guys in many Disney films. Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame. He had brilliant villain song. Gaston, obviously. Who else am I missing? But I can understand how the songwriters and the story. I think the story and the song sort of came hand in hand in the way that you described with Let It Go, where you can fall like the writers fell in love with the villain and the villain song so much that they wanted them to be redeemed at all costs. And
that's I think that's a beautiful summary of the thought behind it. Gaston also not the villain. You need to see the I can't remember his name now. Is it John something? There's a guy who did a really good analysis of the Beauty and the Beast. I'll put it on Twitter later. You should definitely check it out, though.
Yeah, Gaston did nothing wrong. I love Beauty and the Beast. My only problem with that, I mean, maybe we'll do a stream on that another time. But Belle really doesn't get what she says she wants at the start, which is really quite dark if you think about it. The fact that this woman says that she loves reading books and she wants adventure, but what really she wants is just to marry a rich guy and live in a castle.
Absolute ego. Classic.
Okay.
Okay. Going on to this kind of childhood, like we sort of mentioned it about, the villain created by my bad childhood. And again, I have a real hate of anything psychology related. I'm very much against the Freudian mode and all derivatives of the school of Freud. But you can see here where they're kind of lining it up, where this kind of childhood trauma between the two sisters creates the rift. That's like an essential plot point, basically.
Yeah, it's this one moment that defines the next 10 years of these two characters' lives. From Elsa's perspective, everything, she has a huge complex about her ice powers, about Anna, about other people, that all comes back to this one moment. And obviously, yes, it's not realistic. Sorry, I did cut you off there, but I think for a screenplay point of view, you do have to overly simplify these things, and to have this one strong moment where this innocent play turns to like a tragedy, it works from in a movie. It works. It's a little scene. You understand the stakes. You understand why it hurts her, and then we can just cut to 10 years later where it's become like a much bigger deal.
Yeah. Again, maybe it's expediency at the expense of quality and goodness here. The whole thing just reads to me like the little kind of Freud voice. The relationship between the daughters is compromised because of the accident. Some kind of that was like a terrible Freud. It sounded more like Bap actually.
I thought maybe you were going for Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Also, it could be a bit Petersonian. I don't like it. I don't like how they do it. I hate Freud. Goodbye. Let's keep on going. Next one is around concepts of like true love, and I think this is really interesting. And we'll see how the Zoomer generation deal with this kind of paradigm because they're brought up on it. So we'll see how they react to it. But obviously, Disney has a long history of this idea of the importance of love, but I guess difficult concepts of love in our modern eyes around instantaneous love or love from an initial moment. So again, I think about Sleeping Beauty, where basically from one encounter, the prince falls in love with the woman. Now, where they're quite clever about it is they combine it with, they have a very short period of time, and then they have this instant marriage. But the point is that everyone challenges it and challenges her through the entire thing and says, "You got married instantly."
Engaged, yeah.
Sorry, engaged. You got engaged instantly. How stupid's that? And I think it's very difficult. I think certainly in terms of royalty, ideas about the importance of duty and having to get married to keep the stability of the kingdom over and above your own personal needs is super important. And essentially that might be in the force of an arranged marriage or something like that, where you have to deal with it. But also, I am a romantic soul, I think ideas of you can falling deeply in love with someone at a first meeting are very much true. And while again, I'm not saying that getting married after one meeting with someone is a good idea, but I'm saying it could happen. So, do you see what I'm saying? I feel like they're creating a straw man here situation.
Yes,
and their answer to this is just a long-term cohabitation. That's their answer.
Yeah, arranged marriages are not what they're. I know that's not the allegory. The analogy they're bringing up here. Obviously, what they have is nothing like an arranged marriage, other than the fact that they're both royalty. That neither of their guardians is, like the Sleeping Beauty. They're not involved. Anna's parents are dead, and Han's parents are never shown or named. I think this not true love, yes, but this instant love at first sight that these two have, this instant connection. I think Disney has a lot to answer for in this. It's a lovely idea, obviously. I love watching this on film, in films where it happens genuinely. I have to admit, I do also love the... I had a whole live stream about it, about the... bickering, like sexual tension kind of relationship, like Kristoff and Anna, like Flynn and Rapunzel. I love it when two characters don't like each other and then they fall in love. I just really enjoy that sort of bickering relationship that builds from there. That's just putting that aside. I think I actually have come around, even though it's not traditional at all, I've come around to thinking that maybe the lesson that Frozen teaches about Hans is actually a really good lesson for modern women, where the feeling of intense love that you might feel for a man upon first meeting, it may be a genuine romance that will be very sweet that will lead to a marriage, or it could just be that this guy is a mega Chad who makes women fall in love with him every few weeks. It could just be that this guy has even it could be that he's geniusly cultivated this persona that causes women to fall in love with him, as is the case in some rare circumstances. But I think it's actually very very wise for women in the modern world to be very cautious around men, especially when they're very charming and handsome and rich, to take a step back and to be a little bit withholding.
This is lame-po. This is just this is bean counting. This is just like where's your spirit? I told you I'm just a romantic. I'm just flouncing around in the fields like Keats,
it's very well for you, Ferro. It's very well for a young man to fall in love with a young lady, and for if she loves you too, then just go for it. Like, you've got nothing to lose.
The thing is, the way that you said it, that's not what they're presenting here, though. What they don't say, maybe you should just have a longer engagement. What they do is what Elsa does is she just rejects it outright and doesn't even care about her sister, and then everyone through the rest of the film says you're retarded for falling in love that quickly. And what I'm saying,
getting engaged that quickly.
Yeah, but it's falling in love as well. Yeah, it's implied though, and it's not kind of like I don't know.
You're right. It's implied that love takes longer than that, and I guess we could do a longer stream about what it even means to be in love. You're a married man, and I'm sure you know that there's a love that comes with having a duty to your spouse. That's not just being head over heels in love with them, but also just a daily commitment to working on your marriage together. That's a beautiful kind of love as well. My point is that there is more to love than just that topsy-turvy, head over heels, delighted feeling of falling in love. That's what's portrayed in Disney films, and it's really very cinematic. It's brilliant to watch in film. It's the easiest kind of good feels to really convey in a movie. People love to see it. I love to see it, but it's not the be-all and end-all of romance.
Again, I would agree with that. All I'm just saying is that I feel like we're going to create a generation of unromantic, just boring people who like will want to do like an HR evaluation on their relationship before they do anything further. You know, it's just like live a little bit. You know, just like anyway.
Is it not raw romantic to fall in love with an ice merchant who who has a nice personality, who's demonstrated some competence and some sort of genuine good characteristics than to fall in love with a prince? I think it's very sweet for Anna to not be fooled by the her hypergamous tendencies and to go for the humble ice merchant.
Well, we'll talk. Hold that thought. Hold that
Okay.
thought. Because I've got a slide on that in a second. I forgot to put a picture for here. I wanted to highlight this idea of self-actualization via sisterhood. So again, rightly or wrongly, Disney and many of the other films, it is that moment of love and partnership between a woman and a man is the ultimate self-actualization. You know, between Cinderella gets her prince, Sleeping Beauty gets her prince, etc., etc. Lady and the Tramp, lady gets her prince. You know, it's this idea of that's the best thing to have. But what do we learn from the end here? What is the ultimate moral of the story? Is that sisterhood is the most important thing here. You know, the relationship between siblings. And again, I'm not sure about that, and I'm not sure whether sisterhood over marriage, if that makes sense. What's more important for someone in your family to uphold their relationship with their brothers and sisters, or to have a family? I think for me that going out and having your own family is more important ultimately.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're talking from an archetypal standpoint, that is why we see it in the Disney films. Is marrying a prince is just winning the jackpot. It's the female equivalent of slaying a dragon. Is making a prince fall in love with you and marrying you. That is like winning the game of being a woman. Yeah, that's what every little girl dreams to be, is a princess who's married to a handsome prince who loves her. So I can understand why they've done it, but at the same time, it's been done, and even it's intentionally thumbing their nose at you, saying the act of true love will thaw the frozen heart. They're baiting you into anticipating a true love's kiss being the formula here. This is we've all seen a fairy tale. We understand that a kiss from a frog can turn him into a prince. The kiss is this is the moment of the romantic meeting becoming a magical force in the world. So we're all ready for that to happen, and we go like, okay, so it's going to be Hans. Oh no, Hans is evil. Oh no, it's going to be Kristoff. Here he comes. He's on his reindeer to save the day. And then, oh no, it's actually the true love that Anna feels is for Elsa. This is the important relationship in her life at the moment. It's nice that she's found a boyfriend, but really the film is about the sisters. And that's, you could say that that's not as archetypal and not as, it doesn't hit on that quite as much, but I'd show you all of the little girls who love this film and say that they seem pretty satisfied by this ending, and I think
they don't know any better because their parents don't just put them in front of the tablet and don't teach them anything.
Well, I guess this is the question. This is the populist delusion question of whether do little girls genuinely adore Frozen like 10 times more than any other Disney film, or is it a kind of is it just the parents forcing this on them, or Disney forcing it on them?
They do, because it's exceedingly powerful, because the music is very strong, because it's got double the princesses than normal, and
two princesses.
The aesthetic is banging. I love ethnography. I love Scandinavian culture. Everything looks beautiful. That's
Can I tell you, I hate 3D Disney. I love I love hand drawn animation, but
But that's what they get. Look, little girls like good songs, they like the pretty dresses, and then they'll just watch whatever. Like, what happens is they just watch things relentlessly and then just get obsessed with it. they have no concept about the philosophy behind this at all, or the thinking behind it, or what the meaning was, or what the moral is. They're just supping it up. They're just hoovering up what they're fed, without any thought behind it. That's why this thing is so dangerous, in my opinion, because it's like uncontrolled and unguided. You just like turning the minds of an entire generation of boys and girls into total mush, I think. But the songs are very catchy. That's why they love it. You know, but look at the words. Is it worth just quickly bringing up? Can we just go through the "Let It Go" lyrics a second? I don't know if you can bring them up.
I could. I mean, I could. I know. I literally know all of the words. I could just. I could read them to you from my brain.
No. Yeah. Can you recite?
You want to look at them though? Yeah.
No. I want to hear you recite. You got to recite. You got to give us a few bars now.
I'll sing it. Okay. I'm not going to sing it. That'd be so cringe. I've got to put my crown. I've got this. This is my daughter's Frozen crown. I was thinking about putting. I had all of the Frozen jewelry on. It just made me look like a sad, trans woman. I won't say the T slur, but it really looked quite dire on camera when I was trying it out. But I've put my tiara for this. Okay, the snow glows white on the mountain tonight, not a footprint to be seen. A kingdom of isolation, and it looks like I'm the queen. She literally is the queen. Just butt in. I'm not on the stream now.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want me to share them so you can look at them as well?
No, that's fine. This is great.
Okay.
This is perfect.
The wind is howling like this swirling storm inside. Couldn't keep it in. Heaven knows I've tried. Don't let them in. Don't let them see. Be the good girl you always have to be. Conceal. Don't feel. Don't let them know. Well, now they know.
Can we just stop there? So again, you know, you're starting to hear the thoughts of this girl, where again it's kind of like, oh, she's been told to be a good girl her whole life. So what?
Yeah, obviously.
So what? That is the basic. That is like the minimum of entering society as a human being, is to be good, dude. Literally, that's like you're complaining about that.
Okay. Yeah, I know. No, I know what you mean. This is like I said, I thought this was a villain song. I thought this was going to be. This is like no one spits like Gaston. No, I use antlers in all of my decorating. I thought this was like, okay, I'm going to be evil now. This is my justification.
Yeah.
Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, let it go. Turn away and slam the door. What is it? I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. I love that line. I think it's brilliant. She's got the cape around her shoulders, and she's like, she's been wearing all of this like cold weather clothing, and because she has ice powers. Like, this line is the only clue that we get in the whole film that actually she's never even felt the cold in her life, because that's like part of her power.
Yeah. Again, the whole thing reads to me like she's just like totally not in control of who she is and her life. Again, which just shows to me just like a total failure of the parents in terms of their parenting. Remember, they died when she was relatively late, in my opinion. And
it was like 15 or older than that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or again, like you'd put in stuff in place. You'd give her mentors, to guide her. And she is just like this, like she's just like a storm of emotions. She literally just storms off.
I mean, she's 21, but she's acting like a 16-year-old. Like, my parents ruined my life. She's being, she's gone off in a sulk.
Yeah, it is exactly like that. It's just like, it's interesting, in my opinion, contrasting her to the great queens, because Mr. John Dee, if he were here, would say there was never a great queen, but I think there's been some great examples of that. But all of them are very much in total control of their passions and their emotions. They have this kind of sternness to them because they're having to hold back more. And again, what are we learning? That this woman is finding self-actualization through abandoning all of the rules, through abandoning any kind of self
duty. I mean,
duty, but also the idea of goodness. There's something weirdly Nietzschean about it. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. No, it is. It's like sulky teenager-ish, but yeah, it's Nietzschean as well.
Yeah, it's kind of Nietzschean in the sense of there is no good and evil. I'm like totally fine doing whatever I like at the expense of everyone else.
Yeah.
But that's never really resolved in the whole thing. Again, if this was like she goes off in a sulk, blah blah blah, but we don't really get the payoff on the moral here. We don't really get her saying actually it's important to be good, or it's important to be a ruler who cares about her subjects and is in control of her emotions and is not a passionate person.
No, I think you are actually right. I mean, the conflict of the film is, from Elsa's point of view, is I'm upset because I can't love my sister the way I used to. I can't engage with her or anyone else because of these dangerous ice powers I have. And she's been spending her whole life keeping them in. And this song is like, I'm not going to hold it in anymore. I'm going to go off on my own so that I don't have to worry about hurting others. It's almost, it's like Atlas Shrugged. Like, I'm going to go form my own ice civilization where I don't have to worry about the petty complaints of all the other people in Arendelle. And I can just do my own thing and look at all these wonderful ice sculptures I can make and this really sexy blue dress I can make for myself. with high heels and a slit skirt. Like, I'm going to go be awesome over here, not worry about anyone anymore. And then the conclusion of that, I mean, this is like the darkest hour, like second act. Like, it's the popularity of the song kind of suggests it's supposed to be jubilant and like triumphant, but it's that dark triumph. It's the villain song.
Yeah, it's like
it's half a story circle. It's not. There's no resolution in this. It's not. You don't get the conclusion to her story arc from this song,
or the whole plot line. Because where does she end up in there? Like, what do we learn at the end? Oh, it's just it's the love of my sister. If I can just love my sister more, then everything's okay. But I don't see how anything's changed. She's still.
Because she can control her powers and everyone knows about it. This is the subversive thing. I couldn't. Was this on your list of subversions? I don't want to.
No, let's go.
Jump the shark. But
no, do it.
Okay, so the thing is, this is what I find the most subversive element is like this identitarianism. Like, she's born with ice powers and that's her. There's nothing she can do about it. Suppressing the ice powers only makes it worse. Like, this is the first solution that's presented to her by her parents. Is like, okay, just hide the fact that you have ice powers. Don't ever use them. Don't ever tell anyone that you have them. And it's really, really important that you, conceal, don't feel, repress your very emotions, in order to, So we've got in the chat. It's not just LGBT though. It's sort of, Billy Elliot style. Like, this is who I am. I love ballet. I love, you get this story over and over again with these coming of age stories. Like, my parents don't want me to, in Coco, it's like playing guitar. Like, I love music. Society doesn't want me to love music. I love ballet. I'm not supposed to love ballet. I'm gay. I'm an empowered woman. Whatever. Like, there's something intrinsic to me. Shrek. It's essentialism. I'm an ogre. People don't want me to be an ogre. They hate ogres. And this is, this is the subversive element in my opinion.
And that is deeply subversive.
This idea that you're born this way, and everyone hates you for it. And what you really need to do is to just completely embrace it about yourself, make it your whole identity. I'm the Ice Queen now, and then once it's all out in the open, she can control it. Right? Yeah. Like, it's the hiding it that's making it worse. Like, this is the dangerous part. It's the trying to repress it. That's what's most dangerous. When really what she needs to do is to become a flamboyant ice princess where everyone knows that she has powers and she just uses them all the time to freeze like fountains and at the end, ice skating and all of that. When I don't know, intentional, unintentional, whatever. That is the messaging. You see it all over coming of age films and stories for children, young adults, and adults as well. Is this sort of story of the essentialism, like everyone thinks I'm an ogre. People hate me because I'm an ogre, but actually there's nothing really wrong with me except that everyone hates me. That's the
exactly, and
it's not unique to Frozen.
Yeah, there's something about like moral relativism as well. Again, where it's just like this is just like. This is like my truth. Again, so I absolutely hate it. I think it's very dark, and again that moral is just. I think you've really highlighted it nicely there, Poe, about just like one of the biggies there. I hadn't actually put it down as a slide, so you get extra points, bonus points for not having it on here.
I'm doing your argument for you.
It's great.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think. Do you want to hear the rest of "Let It Go"? By the way, I'm not going to sing it, but we really got halfway through the song.
Let's go.
"Cold Never Bothered Me Anyway." That's the one I really liked. It's funny how some distance makes everything seem small. It's a little, songwriting joke there. It's a good lyric. And the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits and break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. That's the Ubermensch. I'm free. Let it go, let it go. Yeah, it's the same lyrics again. Similar anyway. And then there's a verse about her powers being awesome. Let it go, and I'll rise like the break of dawn. I love this verse. It's got that like key change. It's so good, like in a song, like a ballad like this, where the final chorus. I don't know if non-musical people even understand what's happening, but there's this like upwards key change, and you get the same chorus again, but it's in a new key that just every note is like 2 notes above the last, but it sounds awesome. When I'm describing it, it sounds just like who even cares? But when you hear it in a song, it's great. Yeah. It's like musical.
It's like a musical device to create like more tension.
Yeah, I'll rise like the break of dawn. I love that line. Let it go, that perfect girl is gone. Here I stand in the light of day. That's Idina Menzel. She totally nails it. I love, like, she sings this song so well. Let the storm rage on. Again, it's like it's the chorus you've been hearing, but it's like she's doing this ballad thing at the end. The cold never bothered me anyway.
Just on the perfect girl's gone again. I really feel like Disney has been on the rampage with perfection, and again, this is where I think. Are you familiar with BAP's Handsome Thursdays, Poe?
No, what is that?
You know Bronze Age Pervert, right?
Oh, BAP, yes, sorry, I haven't actually listened to his podcast or anything. I'm only sort of peripherally aware of him.
Part of his philosophy is around how modern society has forgotten about ideals and what perfection looks like, and so every Thursday he posts pictures of exceedingly muscular naked men. I don't know. Again, very, very popular with John D. Now, obviously, it's a bit of a joke, but I think he has a point where Disney is on the warpath against perfection and idealism at the same time. Where again, you have this just forget about perfectionism, but it's more than that. It's not recognizing that a human can never be truly perfect. It's about slovenliness, a total disregard for oneself, and an abandonment of any like going for a goal. In my mind, I would say that perfection is very rare, but it does occasionally happen. You have a perfect singer, or you have someone who's perfect, a perfect pitch, or has the perfect nose to smell a wine, or it does occasionally happen, and it should be something held up and admired by society. But what we're learning here is that perfection is a chain that holds us back from who we truly are. It's something that represses our inner emotions. This is an attack on the struggle of life itself. I feel, Poe. Life, if you ever try to be good, you're a flautist, right? Okay. How many
hours? Not a good one, but yes.
How many hours? What position are you on the orchestra?
I'm a grade 5. I was never first seat or anything. I was a very inadequate flautist, but just good enough to be in the band.
Okay, grade 5 is decent. But how many hours did you put in to get to that point? It's struggle and pain, and it's moments where you what the hell am I doing here? I don't want to be here. Or the flute is a stupid instrument. Why didn't I learn to play piano like a normal person? Those kind of things. Achieving something in life is hard. And it involves unpleasantness and difficulty. And part of being an artist and a creative person or a successful person, this isn't just about art, but also in business, even by foundations of entrepreneurship right now. You have to struggle to succeed and survive. And that's what we're abandoning here. At the first sign of any trouble, just give it up. Just say, oh, that's what being perfect. I'm just being perfect. I just need to be me. I just hate it. It's defeatist.
Yeah. No, I think I actually still stand by the Ayn Rand philosophy in this one small area. I think she completely gets it right about the feelings of inadequacy that come from trying really hard at something only to still be inferior to another person, and the kind of the feelings of hatred towards that ideal that you'll never be able to live up to, especially when there are people out there. It's that Amadeus plot line, right? This Salieri effect. Yeah. Just this burning resentment of working your whole life to be really good at something that you love, only to be outshone by someone else always. And it does engender this kind of very poisonous feeling of resentment and of just like hatred targeted towards that person, or those people who you see as being superior to you in these ways, and just the idea of perfection itself. And I think a lot of it, that's one thing, right? So completely another thing is the I think Nietzsche calls it like slave morality, like Christian morality of the the needy, the weakest, the lowest people in society are the most blessed. The meekest, the people who have nothing are the truly moral people. Like, to be a victim, this isn't Christianity. This is the modern interpretation of this is that the best thing you can be is a victim of pain, trauma, oppression. These are the things that truly make you moral and good. Like, these are the things that you these are the best people, the people who have been hurt, the people who have been oppressed. This is the really subversive ideas that it lowers this the value of perfection and ideals to it becomes an oppressive force that needs to be discarded. So, I mean, we're spending a lot of time talking about that perfect girl is gone. I don't think there's a lot of it in Frozen. There's a touch of it. It's in a lot of stories over not just like recently, but
I think forever. Frozen is the beginning point though, because the previous one to this is like Tangled, and again it's still about like idealism, as in like traditional stories, and kind of like a princess who falls in love with a guy, basically, like just simple. Again, you say it's boring, you say it's repeated. That's what tradition is. I
like Tangled.
It's hitting the same the same moral points over again. From this point onwards, you have like the anti-hero princess. Again, all of these points. Again, it is the villain personified. We're sympathy for the devil all the way through. From this point on, Frozen is Frozen.
What do you mean? Like all Disney's films after this? You mean?
Yeah, if we look through a timeline, if you look through
Moana, I mean, right.
I can get you. Don't get me started. I mean, maybe again we'll go through another time.
We'll do Moana at a different time. Yeah.
Yeah, deeply subversive, but. I think that it sort of breaks everything. Frozen and its consequences have been a disaster for modern society. But I've got a few other points.
Okay, go on.
Okay,
Duke of Wesselton.
The Duke of Wesselton. I think he's the most maligned character ever, unfairly so. Okay, what is the point? What is your role as the king or the duke of another country? It is to make your subjects rich. That's your number one job. So when he comes in and says, I'm going to extract as much wealth out of there as possible, I have total sympathy for him, because he has so much love for his own subjects, Poe. You need to understand that he's trying to grow his kingdom more, right? Which should be his duty. That's his point. May our rulers in the current regime once again realize that the point of view is to actually serve the people, that as opposed to just treat them like rubbish. Now, the Duke basically sees that the Queen is performing dark, demonic magic for the first time, and then sends some guards to capture her. If I was in a similar situation, imagine you'd had your entire life, Poe, totally normal, and then you've gone to this foreign coronation, and then the Queen is literally doing these evil powers. She's created an eternal winter in her own country. She's destroyed her own economy and yours. That's all of those juicy trade routes destroyed. He's totally within justification to capture and detain this evil Queen.
Well, she's frozen the fjords, which are like you said, literally the trade routes. The not just politically, but she's actually destroyed the harbors. All of the ships have been marooned. But he's not the real villain. He's like I said, he's a red herring. This is not the messaging of the film.
They literally like rip up his trade agreement at the end and kick him out and stuff. And he is a villain of sorts. I mean, some would say, Poe, that was an act of war that she did. Freezing the fjords. All I'm saying is, the Duke of Wesselton did nothing wrong.
Yeah. I can't argue with that.
Okay.
Class abandonment. I touched on this. Yeah.
Let's go back to the reindeer fucker. Sorry for my language. Christoph, his job is to literally saw ice for a living, and this man thinks he has the ability, cognitively, and the training to become a prince of that country, a substantial person. There. In my mind, it would never happen in reality. I can't even think of any examples in history where someone so low and incompetent was brought into a royal household just out of nowhere, just because the one fact is that he just happened to be at the right place at the right time. That's it. He just happened to be climbing up the mountain at the same time.
It's love. It's true love. He's they have a connection. He's a good boyfriend.
But duty as well, and again, that's it's a horrible thing to say. But here's the deal: if you are in control of a country, you trade your choices and your freedom for decisions that are going to benefit your subjects, and not being able to marry the hunky reindeer guy is got to be one of them. I'm afraid to say that's it.
Yeah,
so,
well, it's a fairy tale. I just
no, just absolutely. But again, it's just rank egalitarianism. Don't like it.
If you like fairy tales, have you ever read The Princess and the Swineherd? It's a really lesser known one, but I read it for the first time last year, and it's so weird, but I loved it.
I've got a really beautiful version of it. I'm really interested in late Victorian children's books. Poe, you got to send me your address after the stream on Twitter. I want to send you guys some books.
Oh, that'd be great. I love that.
But the version I've got is done by this German secessionist author, Viennese secessionist author, with brilliant illustrations. But yeah, this is about a German prince that disguises himself as a swineherd to get kisses from
but he is a prince. The visual image, and I assume the illustrations of this prince disguised himself as a swineherd with lots of ladies in waiting, circled around these couple kissing to hide the kiss from everywhere else. It's just a kind of charming story.
Sorry, you go.
He is a prince. He's only pretending to be a swineherd. But just as I was saying that though, I do remember that in ancient Greek mythology, I hope it's not Roman because I do get muddled sometimes. But if I'm getting this right, Aphrodite is at some points, or she is married to Hephaestus, the blacksmith, who is he's a demigod. He's a god or a demigod who's been cast out of Mount Olympus because he's physically deformed. So he's not exactly a merchant or a very lowly person. But he's I think there are Greek gods who get married to humans as well. I'm trying to remember now. It's not from the the Hans Christian Andersen sort of style or true history. But I think if you go back into that kind of mythology, you do get this theme of the princess marrying the deformed blacksmith. He actually tricks I think he wins the hand of Aphrodite with a cunning sort of trick. He wins a competition. for
Well,
by being a blacksmith.
yeah, it's literally like producing swords for Zeus, though. It's like a transaction, though. He sort of basically
No,
buys her.
but the only reason he's able to win the contest is because he set up the contest in the first place. He was cheating, basically. I
There
think.
you go. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I can't really. I wouldn't hold the Greek gods' relationships as that useful. That useful as
Yeah, it's well
archetypical
again
forms.
a topic for another time. But the Greek those stories, that mythology was never supposed to be. It's not an archetype to live up to. It's not like an instruction booklet on how to live in the same way that many sort of other fairy tales are. It's much more. I don't know what they're doing, but they're usually representing the concepts that they are the gods of. It's like they're like
just, well, the thing
symbolically.
is, or that they're just really interesting, fun stories. You know,
Yeah.
Plato, of course, famously would just basically say they're all rubbish because the gods could never be that crass or that evil. Basically, you know, he was keen on like totally abandoning the entire poetic like canon because of their actions. But yeah, it's the marriage between low and high. I think again, I think it's interesting, but no one at all is even worried about it. You know, Elsa, who refused the marriage of a noble because of the smallness of the like length of introduction, when in reality she'd be just glad to get rid of her. You know, finally get her out of the kingdom, get her married, get some children in her, grow the kingdom some more. You know, that's how you run a kingdom. Doesn't bat an eyelid about a stinky reindeer guy coming in and potentially being he's literally in charge of people's lives. This guy spent his entire life cutting ice. He can't even read. You know, totally penniless, adds no political or economic value to the kingdom.
But it's true love. Next one, come on, Portrayal of Men.
I mean, all men are bad in this, apart from Oaken. Oaken is like the Chad shopkeeper. Everyone else is. It's a woman's story where women are placed higher than everyone else.
No, I love that. I love that Oaken scene. It's the introduction of Kristoff as this. It's he's introduced as a child earlier, but he walks in as this like extremely grumpy guy covered in ice. You know, he's a hard weathered kind of. I don't know, kind of like a lumberjack kind of character. He's really not in the business of falling in love with princesses or doing a favor for anyone. He's in a bad mood, and that whole scene just plays out very very well in my opinion. That there's a bit where he refers to the winter section where Anna comes in looking for boots and a new outfit. And he points over to what he calls his winter stock, where it's like a video game where there's only 4 things on in that section, and they are the exact things that Anna and Kristoff need. Like those things and only those things. There's the 4 things that are there. It's kind of bizarre and funny on the rewatch when you're looking at it.
I just like him. He's a wholesome character.
No.
He's out there making a living. He's got his family. He's got his family in the sauna. Exactly. You know. Would you have a family sauna, Poe?
Oh yeah, well I'd marry Hogan. Live in the mountain with a comfy sauna. I think that'd be a good life.
You got to have one here. Would you have a family sauna?
Not here, no.
No. It's the new hot tub. You know, everyone.
Yeah, you need to live somewhere cold to really use that. It's like I wouldn't have a swimming pool in England. Like, if I lived somewhere hot, I'd have a swimming pool. If I lived somewhere cold, I'd have a sauna.
There you go. Yeah. I live in Essex, so everyone's got a hot tub. So I'm thinking maybe I need to go for an Oaken-esque sauna to buck the trend. You know, that's the future. Okay, next one is just positive witchery. I hate witches. I dislike anything witch-related. It's magic use historically. When you look at myths and fairy tales, it's interesting because there are realms where women are allowed magic, but they are very specific. For example, in Hans Christian Andersen's Snow Queen, there is a goddess or a fairy creature that sort of captures Gerda, but she's kind of like neutral, if that makes sense. If you think about the Arthurian legends. You've got Merlin, who's a male magic user, but the big nemesis is obviously Morgan Le Fay, and also there's another.
Mordred?
There's a woman as well that tricks Merlin and then makes him invisible forever. I can't remember. It's
Oh yes, Merlin has a kind of encounter with a woman. Yeah, his kind of a girlfriend, femme fatale.
Yeah, exactly. And she uses his own spells against him to make him invisible, basically. So, yeah, I just don't like this idea of normalization of witches. You see it on. Just stand back and see how much positive witch culture there is nowadays. Positive portrayal of tarot cards. Positive portrayal of like hexing and spells. Tarot card usage is going off the charts. Like occult usage, massively increasing. Now I sound a bit like a 90s US TV evangelist.
Satanic panic.
But it's just me saying this. I'm not creating like an actual panic. I'm just like step back and just see how much stuff is going on, and then you realise it's because stuff like this has been normalised by Frozen, in my opinion.
You know, my local mums, I saw an advertisement recently for an actual. They didn't call it a coven, but they did use the word witch and witchery, and I think they spelt it. They spelt magic with a K. Like it was all very weird. Like they were advertising this like retreat day where you can go stay in a comfy cottage with a bunch of other middle-aged women who want to learn magic without
dark
like nobody's going there expecting to be able to like cast like ice with their hands or do spells or telekinesis or anything. They're going there for something. Tarot cards were actually specifically mentioned. I mean, I agree. Like all of that, I'm not on board with. It's just that it's all just very silly, which is historically a completely other kettle of fish. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess I take the.
I can sense some sympathetic witchy tendencies there, Poe. You need to root them out.
Yeah.
They're not merely herbalists or healers misconstrued.
Well,
but
putting that aside, I think that magic in stories, in video games, in media, when it's not trying to be real, if that makes sense, I do appreciate that. I think it's fine. I think it's a good. It makes stories exciting. I think it's a nice theme to introduce to stories. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a TV show that I really like, and they used this sort of bending magic, these elemental blending, as a way to have action in a kids show that didn't involve violence. That didn't involve like breaking of bones or blood, because it's a kids show. They had to have an action fight scene that didn't involve any actual fighting. So they're just throwing rocks at other rocks, basically. And it's the same thing you get with like Beyblades and stuff. Like you need to. Weirdly, it does introduce a sort of. It's more innocent in a way than just having people come at each other with guns and knives as a way to make way to make it exciting. Agree to disagree on this one, I think.
Well, yeah. Let me just be clear. I'm not against magic usage. What I'm saying is that traditionally there is a differentiation between certain kinds of magic users, right? Where depending on the background of those people, they were considered good or bad. But I summarize it as follows: love wizards, love magic, hate witches, simple as. That's basically it.
Magic is good as long as it's men who are using it.
No, because like I said, you could also have like goddess-esque figures as well, and that's acceptable. And nymphs.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's just that's not me saying it, Poe. That's just the traditional classical canon. But also I'm saying it as well.
Okay. All right.
Right. Okay, and then finally, just the abandonment of duty. She's just a useless ruler. Totally terrible, without a doubt. That kingdom genuinely would be doomed in the future. She's rubbish. Runs away, and there is no payoff in this film. It just doesn't make any sense to me. She's just a terrible person. You learn nothing. We just learn to abandonment is good. We can just run off when we don't like it, and there's no consequences for that at all.
Yeah, I think in the Lion King, he Simba abandons his pride. That is his character arc, is the abandonment, and then the coming back for duty and for love, to restore his place as king. That is his character arc. That really should have been Elsa's character arc, is made more explicit. It's not just love for her sister, but also duty to her people and to her title.
They should have brought out the dead bodies of the frozen children who he couldn't afford, who went to Oaken's supply cabinets, and there was nothing left inside there, and they froze to death in the harsh climate. That's the reality.
What's your personal take on how many days this film takes place over? I mean, obviously not the flashback stuff, but starting from the day of the coronation,
like
is
3
it
days.
the same? Like 3 days? Like it's never shown like sleeping, right? You kind of have to guess.
Wait a second, because he's gonna sleep overnight in the barn, and it's dark then, and then it's light the next day. So I think you have at least 1 day, don't you?
So they climb all night. They're climbing the mountain all night.
Yeah.
So Let It Go takes place at night. That's the night of the coronation. After the party,
Yes.
she's climbing up the mountain.
So that's 2 nights then.
And then it's a whole day that Anna spends going after her. A day and a night.
Yeah.
And then she finds... I don't know if there really is like a canon explanation for how many days have taken place with day and night. And I don't know if it's, maybe the geography means that they only get like 2 hours of sunlight a day on that time of year. I mean, I think it's supposed to be summer, isn't it? Anyway, I don't know if that's a plot hole or what.
Yeah, that is a good point, because they should have longer days as well, I guess.
But yeah, I do start to wonder how long the people of Arendelle were frozen for.
But again, it's kind of like... obviously, they'll probably be more prepared than any other city in, like, I don't know, in Spain or whatever. But you imagine, as a port city, which would be normally a little bit warmer, a little bit nicer, I imagine people would at the very least have had severe frostbite. That was a severe winter with no central heating. You need 1 night of bad frost and your crops are ruined as well. So there's going to be some severe starvation afterwards.
There's that reveal that Elsa doesn't even know that she's frozen the entire kingdom, because she's run off to the mountain and she's got that sort of frozen iceland there. And there's like that one line in the song where she doesn't. She tells Anna to go back to the castle, and now she can have a good life without her. She thinks that she's the responsible for all the problems of Arendelle and of Anna. So she thinks removing herself solves the problem because she doesn't know about the snow. I don't know where to put that, but that is the plot.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
And she doesn't know how to fix it.
Yeah. But I think hopefully I've taken everyone through a couple of what I think are dark points. I mean, Poe, you had some kind of positive stuff. Do you want to steel man Frozen a little bit and give us some of the kind of big positive hits?
Yeah, well, I think like I said, I think being suspicious of smooth talking, handsome men is a real positive for the women in the modern world, where I think the opposite is often taken. Women's naivete is often her downfall. If she's if she's going to be the object of anyone's affection, she needs to learn some natural skepticism, which isn't very romantic, but that's just the world we live in, where we no longer can protect our daughters from predatory men. They have to learn to protect themselves. So in that sense, it is a little bit dark, but kind of sensible advice, I think. And I think as a woman who has two daughters, I think the friendship and the sisterhood between these characters is very sweet. I really enjoy seeing them playing together as children and then reconciling at the end. I think it's really nice that I think, thinking about it from Elsa's point of view, she doesn't even know they've been separated for so long, isolated for so long, that they don't even know if they like each other anymore. Like, both of them is thinking that the other one is probably doesn't like her, that they have no friendship left, they have no sisterhood left. And then to see that reconciliation between family members, I think is sweet. I have siblings myself, and I think that is a really important relationship in people's lives, in real life. I think that's just really wholesome and nice to see family as a basis for a positive relationship, compared to something like Tangled. Or in Tangled, it's not really her mother. Her real parents are these benevolent people, but this woman who's pretending to be her mother, this evil witch, this idea that the people you think of as your family are actually not to be trusted, I think, is much more subversive than in Frozen. The family members are all forces for good. They're benevolent influences in Anna and Elsa's life. They're good to each other and they want what's best for each other. And I think that's just nice.
What do you think Christian Andersen would have thought of Frozen if he saw it?
I really don't know. I don't think I'm as acquainted with your work as with his work as you are. So I don't really have an idea of his psychology. But no, certainly he would have hated it, I expect. Or any Disney film, indeed.
I think he wouldn't even recognise it as being close to his work. But I think I think it is very culturally significant, though. I think it's one of those things that people will be analysing in the future, and I think we haven't really seen its consequences yet, because I think, like I said, that kind of Frozen generation are just kind of coming through right now. So I had an 18-year-old girl, the older sister of one of my daughter's friends. One of these strange families where this wonderful lady had 4 children, and then 10 years later had another kid who is now friends with my daughter. So we had this little toddler at her birthday party, which was kind of Frozen themed, and this 18-year-old older sister was like chaperoning this toddler, and she was like one of the oldest of the Frozen generation. So it was really interesting talking to this 18-year-old girl who'd grown up with Frozen being like her favorite movie as a child. It's quite weird as an adult for me to think about, like, I'm talking to an adult about them loving Frozen as an 8-year-old. Well, she's a very well-adjused adult with I'd say with good morals and a good understanding of interpersonal relationships from what I talked about it. But I think she just said that she liked the songs and she thought the princesses were pretty, and she objected to my daughter having a magic wand with her Frozen set. It's not a canonically accurate costume, because Elsa doesn't have a magic wand, but the set sort of came with one because it wasn't an officially licensed Disney one. But that's the extent to which we talked about it. I'd have walked away and just said nerd at that point, just shouted nerd, and then just walked away.
But it's so fun to wave a magic wand. Exactly. I expect you think that's very subversive for me to give my daughter a magic wand to wave around on her birthday.
I'm being a bit tongue-in-cheek with all the things I'm saying tonight, but I think it's more like people just need to get wise to what they're seeing, and not all content is the same. And everything that we read has a consequence. I truly believe it lives within us after the fact, after we've seen something. And what Disney's managed to create is these kind of like weapons grade media that stays in people's heads for generations. Frozen is so catchy and so addictive. It is kind of like the sugar of the kind of the media world. If you want to read, even like that swineherd thing, it's funny, but it's very janky. Like the plot isn't that great. It's a bit weird, and the payoff isn't the same. Like he BTFOs the princess at the end, which is very satisfying, but it's
not tight like a screenplay, a Hollywood screenplay.
Exactly, and a lot of stuff's like that. Again, if you read, I've got some classic. You mentioned the Frog and the Princess. That is just weird. It's really weird. Like the princess sort of gets like harassed by the frog after he rescues a golden ball from his pool and stuff like that. Some of it my daughter's just not interested in at all. It's just hard to keep her interested in, because it hasn't been refined. It hasn't had like a team of script writers refining it down. It hasn't got a catchy jingle with it. So that's what I think as a parent you're up against. You if the good content isn't necessarily like the morally good isn't necessarily good in terms of its actual layout and stuff. So I think it's a real challenge, and I think no one's got an answer to that right now. We've got a generation of children lost to Netflix because it's been so well optimized. What do you do against it? I don't know.
I'll tell you what I've got planned, and we'll see if it plays out. But I've got this book that my grandparents are getting for their great granddaughter, which is my daughter, for Christmas. It's a Bible story a day, and I had a quick look at the Bible stories, and it's pitched at the exact level that I think would make it a good sort of bedtime story read, where each story is about a page long, explaining the main plot points of it's got 365 Bible stories in there.
Yeah.
Old Testament, New Testament, everything. So I'm hoping that will be like a good read. And what I'd really like to do is create like an alt YouTube account where I can upload daily these stories of me reading it to my daughter. And I'm hoping that that obviously they loved, coming back to what we talked about at the start, they love the tablet. They like to sit down and just consume themselves in a cartoon. It's been true of all generations where that it is, like you said, it's sugar for the brain, for the attention span. But that children still do love one-to-one parental attention.
Yes.
Even if the media they're consuming is not quite so high octane, colourful, musical, they get a lot out of having another human being there with them personally, reading it to them, and even like talking around it and discussing it a little bit, or even just that tactile experience of being held while reading the story, looking at the pictures together, all of that. I think that may be the answer that we're looking for as parents, is that you need to personally be there, or to have a grandparent or a sister, or to have another human connections. And it's not just true of raising children, but I think so much of modernity sickness is we can look to each other for the solutions. That what we lack in modernity is those moments of human connectedness, the human touch, in a non-sexual context, is kind of alien to us, where we'd rather put ourselves in the little pods, separate from each other, and just stick to ourselves, when really a lot of the solutions to our problems, I think, are to be found in each other.
No, definitely. Let's go to two follow-ons for that for me. First thing is, I'd highly recommend that everyone reads C.S. Lewis's Men Without Chests, little short book. Have you ever heard of that before, Poe? Yeah, I
haven't read it.
No, I would definitely recommend reading it, because it's all about an analysis of teaching, and it's kind of like Lewis's critique of some of the kind of textbooks arriving in his day, coming in as exercise books, and he tries to understand like what's the point of learning, how do we learn. And one of the lines that sticks with me is the idea of, in the past, the big bird teaches the little bird. That's how we transfer information, is through that direct contact, and by showing what we know to the child. This is what I know, you should know it too, because it works for me, kind of thing. And I think you're right. At the end of the day, Disney can produce the best content it can, but we still have the superpower of being the parent and the love of our children at the same time.
At least for a while. I understand that when they get to kind of teen age, they're really not interested in mum and dad anymore.
Yeah. Sorry, someone in the chat said it's the part of the abolition of man. Yeah, that was correct. It's the first chapter. Read the full lot. I mean, I think you've basically got to 11, whatever. Or is it to 10 to get first principles in a child's head before it's too late? Because it's like you're gone by then, basically. So
Yeah, I think as parents, I think it's not just a duty, but also it's a joy to it's one of those things that parents are always telling me that it's gone faster than you think it and should even be possible. And I've got a 3-year-old, and that seems like it's a million miles away from 10, and yet it's almost she's a third of the way to 10 already.
Exactly.
And that's just gone by unbelievably quickly. So I think even though it's not always the most. I mean, maybe we should talk about parenting in another stream, but to fully immerse yourself in parenting, it can seem like a chore sometimes when what you really want to be doing is having a rest or getting on with something. You don't want to always be there personally for your children, and yet I often feel that when you do properly immerse yourself into it, put everything else aside and just focus on the moment, it's much more rewarding than you're kind of expecting it to be. And I suspect I will miss it once I no longer have the opportunity to, once I've got a bunch of grumpy teenage girls and they don't want to sit on my lap anymore. I think I'll miss that.
I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure there'll be like Little Women or some kind of Jane Austen sisters or something like that. Just.
Well, I'm hoping they'll be sweet with each other, even if they don't like me anymore when they're teenagers.
Well, the thing is, I think this whole kind of like teenager hating their parent thing is just like a modern invention. And if you look at the past, if you read Austen, people got on with their families relatively well. So something's obviously, we live in a society, so that's fundamentally changed things. But at the same time, I still think there's hope. We can create those environments where, teenagers aren't total dibs to their parents. I'm hoping to try and I want to try and to get some writing done with AA at some point about almost like a philosophical first principles for kids, but done in a way that doesn't sound too heavy. But again, just like introducing like some fundamental basics about like learning itself. I'm really interested in historical learning and like I don't know if you're familiar with, like, have you ever thought about how people were taught during the Renaissance? Those guys would have AA's trivium. They would all start on the trivium, then they would do the quadrivium, and then they would have like the septivium. There's like a 12 version. It's like 3, 4, and 12, each doing different things. And again, I think this idea of getting like what may seem weird to us, things like grammar and logic. Why is that relevant to kids? But actually, once you've got logic, it helps. See it. If you've ever read The Magician's Nephew, the professor at the start, he's like, it's logic. It's all logic. Everything descends from that. That's it. That's why they taught it right at the start. And I feel like, just imagine, instead of some kind of boring business science class, everyone in England was just taught a little bit of logic, I think we wouldn't be in the situation we are today. So anyway, but for another time, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this stream has gone on for longer than I thought we'd be able to talk about Frozen. I mean, we've exceeded the runtime of the actual film, so
yes,
as all good analysis does.
Just it's 50% me ranting about witches, basically. So
no, I love it. It's been great. I mean, honestly, this is what. It's weird because what I want to make on YouTube is not what we will want to watch. Like, if I did what I wanted on YouTube and didn't care about whether it got viewed or not, I'd probably just do this. Like, I'd do this with every single Disney film. 2 hours, Tangled, Coco. We're going to do Beauty and the Beast. And then we're going to do anime. It's like stuff that I like. I just want to talk about it endlessly.
Yeah.
That's why I became a YouTuber. I don't know about you. What did you get started on?
In terms of like the YouTube streams or things to watch, I just like talking about art. If you look at my channel, which is basically it's dead. I've streamed more on other people's channels in the last month or so than my own. But I just like chatting about stuff and discussing art. So you can check out my channel, check out my Twitter.
I'm putting the link in now.
Okay, great. This if you're interested in art and creative stuff, had some really good discussions in the past. My streaming friends, Alexander Adams and Panama Hat, who you may be familiar with, offer some very good insights. So yeah, it's just weird chats about niche subjects. That's what I'm all about. So, but there we go.
Okay, it's not letting me update the description of the video while we're doing it, so I'll have to.
That's fine,
People
that's
watching in the future can find you. I'll also put your Twitter in there. I'm really bad at doing the actual stream descriptions before I do that, so I should get better at that.
No, you got to have it copy pasted beforehand. That's the key. You got to, yeah. It's hard to organise.
All right. Any more thoughts before I let you go? Something you'd like to other people to go check out? Your channel in general, or a particular video, perhaps?
No, not really. I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. It's was it a week away now? Are you having a big Christmas pay?
Just the family dinner. I don't do the nothing huge. We like to make some nice food, but not make a massive deal out of it. Just
So are you hosting this year?
We're helping my parents host.
Okay.
My husband likes doing the turkey, so we're sort of doing a compromise where,
he's a chef.
He's not well. He likes doing the meat.
Is there a secret household recipe? Like, what's the specialist part of the turkey? We need to hear the
stuffing he does in a way that I've never seen before, using pate and breadcrumbs and onions, obviously, but not using any sort of packet stuffing or anything. Just instead of I think sausage meat some people use, but he uses pate. That's the family recipe.
You've given away the secret. Well, you have to send some pictures around. It sounds delicious.
Yeah, we'll see. All right.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas to you and all of the Ferro children and Mrs. Ferro.
Yes,
and everyone watching, of course, as well. What I want to do before Christmas, so everyone who hung in here until the end, I've discovered recently that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote letters to his children pretending to be Father Christmas, and that these letters were later published as a book, which I thought sounded wonderfully Christmassy, which I might do as a live stream over the Christmas break when I'm not working. I do sometimes get the itch to go live. So if I get a hold of that, I may be reading that out loud as a live stream. So look out for that if you want something Christmassy.
Lovely. We love a bit of Christmas content, so it's perfect. It's the Boxing Day listen, isn't it? It's your comatose. You're in a food coma. You want to hear Poe talk about Tolkien being Santa Claus. I bet he's brutal. I bet, I'm imagining, one. I bet you should do a bingo for it, and I'm imagining, I want to put down Tolkien giving coal to his child for 1 year, surely.
I think he was just giving them an account of what's going on with Father Christmas this year. It was like a Christmas letter from the St. Nicholas household to yours. I haven't read it, so I don't know, but I imagine it's something more like that. But maybe that's just we'll see what it's like.
Yeah, sounds lovely.
All right, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. And